was there any concern about Ralph's health before he passed?
Well, I can remember one time, and I was fairly young, that Daddy, I don't know if he had got sick or passed out. I don't know how it commenced, but he ended up having to be in the bed for a few days and drink this white chalky stuff. That's really what I remember about that. But that was quite a few years before his heart attack.
Yeah.
And Daddy had a heart attack in January of 73, and that was on the cusp of them doing bypass surgeries and stents, and so that wasn't an option for him then.
Wait, so he had a heart attack before?
He had a heart attack in January of 73. They put him on medication. He drove a race car maybe a time or two, but that's when Stick Elliott drove for him.
It affected him physically.
73, it affected him physically.
He just wasn't.
Well, then he had a heart attack and died September of 73.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of, for the longest time, people, love to tell the story that he passed away in his shop working on his car, right? That just because that sounds so cool. But
yeah, that's just all about the movie things.
Yes. But he passed away in the kitchen.
In the kitchen. Mm-hmm.
And there was a
Who
parts
found him?
delivery or so.
There was a lady. Her husband. They ran the Whataburger down. I don't even remember what number it was. It was a small one down across from the cemetery, down on the boulevard on 29. And I think it was a drag car he had, and Daddy was working on parts or doing something for him. And the story was told that me and Mother had gone to take Grandma Earnhardt to the mountains back home, so we weren't there. We left early, and according to timing, he died not long after we left. I mean, it was early in the morning before lunchtime. And the lady said she got there, and Daddy was going into the house and told her that he'd be right back. So she said, for whatever reason, I just stood there at the base of the steps of the back door. She said, and he never came. And I heard a noise, but I didn't know what it was, but he never came back out. She said, so I went in. Dad, it's pretty common knowledge Daddy had had a heart attack in January. So I went in, and she found him in the kitchen floor. He had started opening a pack of gum, a piece of gum that was laying on the counter, and the water was running. And so apparently he'd gotten hot, flushed, or whatever. Thought gum, you put a piece of gum in your mouth, that might help. Yeah. Well, she couldn't find a telephone, so she ran across the street to the Carter's house, and they called 0. I don't think 911 was yet. And when the ambulance came, of course, they said he was still alive, but when they got him to the hospital, they pronounced him dead. Kay and Dale made it to the hospital. I don't know if about Randy and Danny made it to the hospital to see him, to see his body or to see him. But Mother and I had gone to Bryson City to take Grandma and Jessie back home because she wouldn't wait till the weekend for Daddy to take her back. And they called the highway patrol who was supposed to stop us or catch up with us. And it was before lunch because we had lunch at Grandma's, and they said, well, they were supposed to come to Grandma's house if they didn't catch you on the interstate. We started back down the mountain and stopped in Canton to see Hilda and Frank Presley, who Daddy drove for, the V8 car. And Hilda came to the back door. She said, what are y'all doing here? Mama said, well, Hilda, we just come to visit. Have you not talked to anyone at home? Well, no, why? What's wrong? You need to call home. Dale, you need to call your house. Dale's at your house. You need to call your house. So I called, and all Dale would tell us is that Daddy had had a heart attack. They wouldn't tell us Daddy had passed. And,
What was Daddy? What was Daddy's state?
He just said, Cathy, you need to let Frank bring you and Mama home. Daddy's had a heart attack. He wasn't.
Just as calm as can be.
As calm as he could be.
My God.
And I said, Dale, how serious is it? He said, just get Frank to bring y'all home. Well, Frank was on the golf course. I wasn't waiting on his ass. I said, we're going home. Hilda said, no, you can't drive her home. I said, well, hold your breath. I can, too. Well, that was before the big interstates were built. There was it was about a 5-hour, almost a 5-hour drive up to Grandma's house. But Canton, it was probably a 3-hour drive home. We got home about 4 o'clock, and I just remember cars being on both sides of the road. You know, the crowd of people that was there, that told us what had happened. Yeah. And then Dale and Kay and Dale and Randy and Danny met us at the car, and we all went in Mom and Daddy's bedroom, and they told us, you know, what had happened and how it happened. And you just, you know, Daddy's the leader.
Yeah.
I don't care how you interpreted his personality or his ways of disciplining his children. He was our leader. He was the person that taught us right from wrong. He was the person that gave us opportunity or not. And, you know, when the doors of that garage closed, it was like the end of the world.
Yeah, he was the direction.
He was our direction.
Yeah,
and you know, we didn't see Daddy and even Dell as, wow, you know, racing was our life, and that was our life stopped right there. Even though Dell was, you know, tampering with it some, he
just kind of been just getting started.
Just getting started. And so everything shut down. You know, it was easy for us that were married to drive away. You know, the way I dealt with my daddy and your daddy's death, and even Randy and Danny somewhat, I can pretend they're not dead because I didn't live with them every day. I didn't have to be there in the mornings or in the evenings when it was time to go to bed and they weren't there. But when I'd pull in Mama's driveway,
don't cry,
and that shop would be closed, was the most traumatizing thing of my life. So when Dale started racing, you know, he got all the race stuff, cars, yeah, and all the stuff. The garage doors were back up, and we were back in business. You know, you'd pull in that driveway, and the doors were up, and there's trucks and race cars sitting around, and you got a new lease on life. And I think that's what kept our family from really just all going to pieces. Just kept us from going to pieces. Because Dale kind of stepped into that role. He stepped in the role of leader of the family. He told Mama what to do. He told all of us what to do. You know, he was the control freak. So that's how things went.
I get that. I can feel that.
So when we lost him, he had done moved out of the shop, of course, but when we lost him, it was like, okay, what do we do now? You know, what do we do now? And, you know, Randy and Danny just weren't the people to step up. People expected you to step up when Dale passed. They expected you to be the things that Dale was when Daddy passed. And that wasn't the way it was going to be. And we all just kind of were in limbo because, you know, at some parts of our life, there was the Earnhardts in Kannapolis and there was Earnhardts in Mooresville. There was like, you know, at his funeral, we sat over here, they sat over there. It was just kind of awkward, as you say. But we wanted somebody to step up because we needed that leader. We needed that glue. And my mama was a champion. She did. She's the one that carried us all through it and never floundered, never, you know, she grieved, obviously, but she, as you all testament to during her passing, that, you know, she was the glue for a lot of people. She was the support for a lot of people. And she got us through it.
So when Dad started, it didn't seem like, looking at some of the physical records from racing and so forth, it seemed like that is, you know, Dad didn't waste any time opening shop doors, as you say. And so I find it remarkable that knowing that he, you know, did so poorly in school, and that he thought the best thing for him to do was to quit school at 16 years old in 8th grade. I mean, the decision making didn't seem like it was there. But when that moment came, I know he wasn't perfect, but I mean, he really took what was there that Ralph had created and Ralph had built. He took that and wheeled and dealed and I mean, through 74, 5, 6, 7, and 8, I mean, literally created his
He sacrificed his
future.
family and kids for that.
Yeah, he did.
Well, I want to say something. When you talk about Dale's grades, Dale was brilliant. Dale could or would not read something and comprehend it. You could read it to him, and he'd make 100 on his test. The teacher told Mother that. She said, if Dale would just do his homework or just try, he's brilliant. He's got a brilliant mind. Y'all both know what a memory he had.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a reflection of somebody with bad scores.
Yeah.
You know, he was brilliant, and he could take a little something and make a lot of something out of it.
He had amazing common sense.
Amazing common sense, and that's
Perfect.
what it took. Daddy was the same way.
Yeah.
Daddy didn't
And
have an
problem
education.
solving, like
Common sense,
analytical.
problem solving, yeah.
Yeah.
So like that was he was amazing in the way that you would exhaust yourself trying to find a solution to something, walk into his office and say, "Here's what I'm dealing with," and he would have you fixed up and ready to go out the door with an answer in a few minutes, because he just he could step back and see the solution so easily.
He was brilliant. Dale was very intelligent, and it's a shame his records.
Well, I know.
But it's true. You know,
I
in
don't
written
think that
word.
I don't think he was dumb. I think that he didn't apply himself.
He didn't
and
apply
he didn't
himself.
want to do the work.
Yeah.
He wanted to be
He
at
had
the
bigger
shop.
dreams.
Yeah.
He had
He didn't
bigger
wanna
options. Yeah.
He didn't want to do homework. He wanted to work on the car.
He didn't want to go to school. He wanted to stay in the shop and help his daddy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I guess what I'm saying is that, you know, one might say that, you know, that's not, you know, his priorities aren't in order, right? At that moment when he's trying to, you know, when you would think he was being encouraged to finish school. So I guess my point is that I wish I could, I guess my point is that to put all that in front of Dad in 1973, at the end of 73, it shocks me that he became what he became. It's not surprising, but how did he not screw that up?
It is. As you're sitting here talking, I'm thinking about like being parents and
Yeah.
how the things happen. You're talking about a guy that was, when you even alluded to the fact that he had his driver's license at 18.
Yeah.
He had he had 2 kids at that age.
He had 2 kids. He was a lousy dad. He was
Had
a lousy husband.
Lost his own dad.
I do want to say, Dale was a great dad until Latane left him.
Oh.
When he came home from work that day and she had taken care of Dale and everything he owned out of that trailer and left him with a fork and a knife and a plate and a cup and 1 sheet and 1 blanket and 1 pillow, Dale changed. Dale was never the same.
Really?
Never
So-
the same.
Well, there had to be something.
There's 2
that
sides
happened.
to every story, but give us your opinion of how all that went
Yeah,
down.
why that happened.
Well, all I know is what Dale would tell us.
Yeah.
He would bring Carrie Dale as a little one to the house, to the shop, and help Daddy on race cars. Mama would play with Carrie Dale and keep up with him. Well, when that went down, she didn't have access to Carrie Dale. Her parents always worked in the mill. And she said she didn't like the way Dale smelled, like the grease on his hands, or, you know, his clothes would smell like cars, and she didn't like that. She didn't like that he did that. She wanted him to work a job and come home and not come to Daddy's, you know, and that was all we were ever really told about that breakup.
And so
I just know
she
that
left him.
she left him, and a couple Christmases after that, Mother went to take Carrie Dale's Christmas present to him, and they wouldn't let her see him. They said, you can leave the gift, but, you know, we're divorced, and she was marrying
Jack.
Jackie Key, And then they told us that Kerry had all these problems and they wanted to change his name. And so Dale was kind of in a corner, put in a corner. And at the time, it was kind of like the rest of his life. He sacrificed everything for his racing. Mm-hmm. He went down at Concord and did a tire test for Goodyear. I think it might have been Hoosier. I don't know, but he did a tire test and made $900 for doing a tire test. He gave her that $900 to settle money he owed her in child support, and signed over rights to Kerry Dale.
Yeah. And so he meets Mom. They get married. Has Kelly. Has me. Now I said he was a lousy dad, but he was he was not a lousy.
He was just an absent dad.
Yeah,
Kelly.
He was just absent.
Yeah, he was absent.
Yeah.
He was when he was there, he was great.
He was.
He was. And
he loved you kids.
I have some very faint memories of him being there, and they were good times. Mm-hmm. But I do know through stories from different people, Tony Sr., Robert G. Jr., Dad raised hell, drank, out all night, running around, goofing off, racing, working. Like, when the hell did this guy sleep? And that's what I'm saying as far as, like, how I don't know how he got it. I don't know how he made it happen. I don't know how he got that opportunity that propelled him into what he became, because
people like Gary Hargett.
He lost his dad. He's like he just became this. He's running 100 mile an hour at the speed of light, going nowhere. You know what I mean? Just bouncing off walls, not figuratively, or not literally, but figuratively, racing his ass off.
He was lucky enough to have good people around him.
And he had a personality. He was likable. I mean, he had a personality that just drew people to him.
Dale could sell himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, he didn't have no money.
Yeah.
But I know he bought a car from Harry Gant. He bought an old Chevelle from Harry Gant.
Well,
then they got the Novas somehow.
Gray London came in the picture. He's the one that actually helped buy the car from Harry Gant.
Really? Mm-hmm. And that guy there is the guy that's sort of the other part of the Earnhardt racing story.
Yes.
Which was a business.
Gray London. It was a business, and we were all part of it.
Yep.
We all, like Kay and I, were 1%.
The original sort of Earnhardt racing, which has been, there's been some legal, arguments and debates about,
He's continued to support Dale, and he stepped in and was probably there may have been somebody else that would have stepped in, but he did, and that really got Dale started.
Yeah.
And then people like I said, Gary Hargett and Eddie Gibson that had a trucking company.
I remember Gibson being on the side of the car at one point.
Those people came in with money and helped him to the next level, or helped him the next step, or help him get through that season, whatever.
It seemed like...
Because in Dale's mind, if he could just show his talent, if he could just get the chance to get out there and show what he could do, then he'd make it. That was his mentality. I just got to show what I can do.